You had to have the ESPN app earlier to watch West Virginia get to 3-0 in the Big 12, to watch Alabama and Arkansas, and the game in a delay. Michigan and Maryland still going on. Oklahoma State and Iowa State, and some question about the Cyclones' firepower on offense. They'll get the ball first, but we won't see one guy downstairs. Olivia.
Hey, Jason. Yeah, running back David Montgomery is out today, and that's bad news for the Cyclones. You mentioned how close this game was last year. Well, he accounted for 3 of their 6 touchdowns, and he's been rolling lately to back-to-back 100-yard games. So redshirt freshman Johnny Lang gets the start. He's had only 8 carries for 24 yards on the season, so big opportunity for him. And at quarterback, we know Kyle Kempt is out another week, so Zeb Noland will start for the 4th time. Coach Campbell likes his moxie and his ownership, and he's got a great arm that we've seen at times, but he wants a little more consistency from Noland, so we'll see if we get that today.
Question is, how will the offense progress down the field? How much will they sit on the ball in this game to try and keep it away for Matt Campbell from that Oklahoma State offense? Matt Campbell has done such a magnificent job here, getting them to the Liberty Bowl last year. And then Mike Gundy on the other side wants to have that quick trigger offense. We'll see how much they'll see the ball if Iowa State wants to play possession today. Nwangu back to receive. And this will end up out of the end zone. We told you about the Harrisons off the top. Their touchstone in this game is Hakeem Butler, a junior from Baltimore. He grew up in Maryland. He lost his mom to breast cancer, so moved down to live with his cousins. And what athletic cousins they were, the Harrisons from Kentucky. Andrew and Aaron, they played basketball together. Butler learned how to play football in part through the game of basketball. And Hakeem Butler, who had a big game against Iowa last season, one of the top receivers for an offense that has lost a bunch of talent wide receiver wise this season. Tailback is Johnny Lang behind Noland. Noland to throw on first down. Pressure comes and down he goes. Noland sacked by Trey Carter.
And this is where you see the influence of the new defensive coordinator and Jim Knowles. And this is why Jim Knowles is here. Mike Gundy loved the pressure numbers that Jim Knowles had as a defensive coordinator at Duke. And you see it on the first play of this game.
Being behind the sticks is not ideal for this Cyclone offense, which just put up 14 against TCU last week. They'll go with a quick hitter, Noland to Deshaunte Jones. And not a whole lot there, but he is one of our impact players.
Yeah, Deshaunte Jones is kind of the opposite side of Hakeem Butler. He's quicker, faster in the middle, and then Brentford is the difference maker. Brentford up front, he has a great get off. He's the pressure guy. He wasn't the guy on that first sack, but he's a guy that they move around defensively, and he's the point of pressure without question.
He's one of the top sack men in college football. That's 18 Butler in motion. Watch him today. Noland has it, batted and incomplete. That was nearly intercepted by Tabo Mwaniki. And Oklahoma State gets the stop.
And a pretty decent pass. Good protection as opposed to that first couple of passes, and this ball was a little out in front of Butler, but catchable nonetheless. Not a very good start, really a shaky start for Iowa State offensively, and that isn't their personality.
Now, 2nd and long is not something they want to stare down the barrel of much this afternoon, as Tylan Wallace is back to receive the punt. From the 30, Wallace is dragged to the boundary.
On the return, number 2.
So the quarterback for Oklahoma State, Taylor Cornelius, waited his turn for a long time. His family is terribly impressive. Josh Davis, 3 gold medals in '96. Brandon Green in the NFL, defensive end of the Bookouts as well. Casey, an Oklahoma baseball player, a standout. Kevin, a former Final Four forward for the Sooners, along with his exploits track and field wise as well. But this kid waited forever to get his starting chance. And he's joined by Justice Hill in the backfield. First flag.
A false start by number 56 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
So right guard Larry Williams. This line is a little bit makeshift today with Hambright, the normal left tackle, out. Cooper Castleberry, our referee, with the call. First and long for Oklahoma State. Justice Hill, so shifty, finds his way to the outside. A prodigy in just about everything he does. Hill gets 8.
And Justin Hill is a difference maker. He kind of sets the table for what Oklahoma State wants to do offensively. It's a zone run inside, a power game at times. There's some quarterback read in there, but Oklahoma State also will take their shots. At least 2 a quarter is what Oklahoma State wants to do.
One more time on the ground, and you see the agility for this running back, Justice Hill. He's a junior out of Tulsa, very under-recruited, but Mike Gundy landed on somebody very special, and he didn't even know it right when he got him.
Yeah, and a 40-inch vertical jump was the indication they had something special, and explosion, that's what you see. He's efficient in the tackle box, but he's also explosive. Yards after contact, you see with that young man as well.
Iowa State this year has really struggled third down defensively. It's 3rd and 3 here. Cornelius on the run, and a big run. Cornelius down to the 15. A 48-yard run.
A fantastic read by Cornelius. You can see the mesh, and then he pulls it out of the belly of Ellen, and it was timely because Hill was going to get tackled behind the line of scrimmage, but that's exactly the product of a very good decision by Cornelius on that quarterback replay. Zone outside, quarterback up for a huge play inside.
Justice Hill bottled up as we check in with Chris Connor.
All right, Jason Kelly, time for DirecTV. More for your college football thing. 14 seconds left in the Cotton Bowl. Cameron Dicker, 40 yards right down the middle. It is now final. Texas beats Oklahoma 48-45.
Huge win for the Longhorns. Tom Herman has that program rejuvenated, it seems. And the Big 12 gets some more upheaval today. Cornelius off a pickup from Hill, giving him some extra time. And he's got it in the end zone for a touchdown. Jelani Woods, the redshirt freshman, with the score.
Woods was well covered by Eisworth to begin with. The safety that's kind of the spy in the middle of the field. He picked up the big tight end, but it's the extended play by Cornelius. Well covered by Iowa State initially, and then as the play breaks down and receivers start to get open, the quarterback Cornelius got outside. Iowa State dropped coverage on that one.
Iowa State may be wishing that the thunderstorm that grazed us about an hour ago landed more directly. 5 plays, 70 yards, 224. The Cowboys have the lead. Looks like the best chance right now for the college football playoff in the Big 12 is West Virginia, still unbeaten, but Oklahoma State very quickly down the field. And Taylor Cornelius, a career-long 48-yard run to get him there and set him up for the Woods touchdown. Nwangu back to receive the kickoff again. First one he had to white flag, and this one is the same. Let's go back to the score.
Yeah, the safety for Iowa State, Greg Eisworth, has coverage initially on Jelani Woods, the tight end. And initially the coverage is terrific, but as the quarterback Cornelius eventually is going to get outside the pocket, Woods does what you're supposed to do in scramble drill 101 as you work with your quarterback. Good coverage initially by Eisworth. Then Woods gets loose as Cornelius gets outside the pocket. It's that secondary play that Iowa State didn't cover very well.
And Iowa State has turned to the freshman quarterback, Brock Purdy, in for his 3rd snap ever as a collegiate player. His handoff is to Lang, 2nd down and long coming up, but Purdy was in for 1 handoff and 1 run, but we expected to see him in for Noland at points today.
And what Purdy brings to this offense is much more quarterback run.
He set a bunch of records in Arizona in high school. He will run again, and that is Calvin Bundage going high to wrap up Lang, 3rd down.
And Jason, we talked at the top about this, what's kind of a budding rivalry, and it ends up in really good games, but typically this is the truth. There's more athleticism and speed on the Oklahoma State side of the ball, offensively and defensively, than Iowa State. So Iowa State has to be efficient, they have to be assignment sound, and they have to methodically drive the football offensively to get points.
Just a couple down linemen. Iowa State 4 wide on 3rd down. Bundage coming again. Purdy on the run, and he goes down in a heap about a yard short. They're going to say he's down at the 34. 4th down coming up.
And this is what Brock Purdy brings to the offense that Zeb Noland lacks. And we see Iowa State may go for it right here, but Purdy can run with the football. Quarterback design runs, and that time it was just nothing open down the field. Make a good decision as a true freshman at that quarterback position. In this case, it results in Iowa State coming up a yard short, and a really good decision, I think, by Matt Campbell early by punting this football away.
Corey Dunn to punt. Wallace to receive, and this one goes out of bounds. The beautiful Oklahoma State campus, 7-0. Cowboys with the
lead. ESPN College Football is presented by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. Energy lives here. And in part by Assassin's Creed Odyssey, available now.
According to Southern Living, one of the top 20 most beautiful campuses in the South. And where else are you going to find a topiary of a cowboy hat and a cowboy boot? Frankly, nowhere.
I have one of those on my ranch.
You have topiaries on your ranch?
Yeah.
I think this may be the first time you ever heard the word topiary, but what do you say about that?
That was offensive.
It's 1st down from the 17 for Oklahoma State, and Justice Hill, the tailback. He gets the run. Boy, can he dazzle to the outside. He finds the corner so well.
He's a physical runner, is Justice Hill, but he's also the type of guy that can plant a foot and get outside. And he has a lead blocker in Larry Williams, number 56. But it's the burst that I think people underestimate. And it would appear that Iowa State needs to get caught up defensively. Right now, they're just not matching up with the speed and athleticism of Oklahoma State.
So it comes down to
a false
scheme.
Start by number 75 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still 2nd down.
And Mike Gundy is a guy that has his own scheme of how he likes to play offense. He wants to do it fast, and Gundy, who is going to have his attention a little bit later on in the Yankees-Red Sox game, a big Boston Red Sox fan. Facing a defense that likes to try to stall you. It was interesting talking to Gundy about this Iowa State defense. Draw play here. He said they really try to make you impatient as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Iowa State really changed gears. They had 3 games, and then they were going into a bye week, and this is what they wanted to do, turn their players loose to make plays. And so their defensive coordinator, John Haycock, said, you know what? Every time I look on the sidelines, our best players are standing beside me. That doesn't work in this league. So now what you see is a lot of rushing 3, creating clutter with the back 8, and forcing Big 12 offensive coordinators to be patient. And not many of them are in this conference.
Free runner. Cornelius goes first down. Eisworth was there first. Orion Vance finished the deal.
And so, Jason, it's a scheme that you force the offense to be patient, and then you bring timely pressure. And that's what we're seeing on this one. We're seeing more pressure. The safeties in particular, you just mentioned Greg Eisworth. He's that guy that's kind of a robber in the middle. But safeties have to dictate things in this, and there's a lot of freedom and flexibility built into this scheme for John Haycock currently.
And the ball dropped by the punter, Signer. He boots it out of the end zone for a safety. Just flat out clanged down to the turf, and it's 7-2. Well, the defense pressures the offense, but not the special teams. You got to catch the ball.
Sometimes it's the most basic things that you forget about. Punter has to catch a football.
After Matt Campbell took over for the fired Paul Rhodes, Iowa State tried to bounce back, and they did it in a big way last year. A couple of huge wins. At number 3 Oklahoma, Kyle Kemp was brilliant in that game. 3 touchdowns, 343. And then 3 weeks later, TCU 14-7. Hakeem Butler, we detailed him earlier, had an early touchdown. And Jack Trice Stadium was overrun with Cyclones. 2017 Liberty Bowl champions, 5 wins on the road. And Matt Campbell, a guy who coached at Mount Union, ended up playing at Mount Union first. He was a Power 5 guy. He was at Pitt. He didn't enjoy the buy-in from some of his teammates, transferred away, found his way to Mount Union, and has rebuilt Iowa State. Special teams drops, evidently, are our theme this afternoon.
Well, Matt Campbell told us that he thinks of the game in terms of overall rhythm. Offense playing off the defense, vice versa, and then special teams. And Mike Gundy told us the same thing, that Matt Campbell's teams are very, very well coached, and they force you to be buttoned up in all areas. And we've already seen the first big play on special teams goes for Matt Campbell and his Iowa State team.
Nwangu in motion behind Purdy, who throws for the first time. Sean Buckner is tight end across the 40-yard line. The fullback tight end hybrid, Sean Buckner, for a first down.
And I think the quick hook by Nolan is because Purdy can do some of this. He can get on the move. He makes good decisions as a young player, practiced really well, and so now Iowa State can go a little bit faster than normally they would.
Brock Purdy with his first completion ever in this game. That run gets him about 5. And tempo for the Cyclones, at least 2 the line. Nwangu breaks a tackle and gets to the outside for a first down as he steps out of bounds just short of the 40-yard line. Trey Carter had him first.
And with Brock Purdy in the game, the quarterback zone read actually means something, because Purdy is certainly a threat to run the football. Zed Nolan really wasn't that guy in the run game, and that's another thing that Mike Gundy told us. If the young kid plays for Iowa State, he's a much better runner than Nolan is. And we've already seen just the threat of a quarterback that has the ability to run, the effect it has on the defensive side of the ball.
Nwangu just short of the line to gain. Olivia.
Jason, this is the most we're seeing Brock Purdy, like you said, but he's kind of a freshman phenom within their walls. In fact, wide receiver Hakeem Butler says he throws a nice ball and he loves catching from him. But more than that, Hakeem says Brock's so far ahead of every freshman he sees. He comes in so focused, the same every day.
Which you don't see from a freshman typically is that consistency, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly why freshmen haven't played a lot in the past, because a lot is put on your plate. You're trying to find your way to biology class, and you were at prom just a few months ago, and then you have to play in places like this. And so sometimes it comes a little bit later, but this young man is wise beyond his years, and he's really playing now in a system that fits him really well, and we saw the quarterback run on that play before.
There are 2 receivers at the top side, only 1 defender there. And now Jones in motion. He will get the ball. And just a short gain. Brock Purdy, the first true freshman quarterback to play for Iowa State since 1995. We're talking through the Sage Rosenfels era that record goes back to.
And Matt Campbell told us that this was a plan to get him playing time, but I think the quickness of the decision kind of portends to how many points Iowa State think they're going to have, and they're going to have the quarterback running the football to be effective offensively.
Purdy saw the pressure coming, felt it, got out of the pocket, and let's see. Touchdown! Butler high points it beautifully. We talked about the basketball history with Butler. Here it is.
And 6'6", and this was a veteran move. He didn't let Williams, the defensive back, know the ball was coming until the very end. And I don't know that Hakeem Butler came down in bounds with this. He has possession, that left foot. I think that's a catch.
Wow.
I think that's a catch, and he ended up possessing it really one-handed as he taps with that left foot. You talk about going up and getting a rebound.
He said it before. He grew up with the Harrisons in Texas. He played basketball with them, and it helped him so much with his coordination for the game of football.
There it was right there.
4th touchdown catch of the year for Hakeem Butler. And Iowa State off the safety punches it in through the air with the new quarterback Purdy to Butler going up the ladder. Yeah, there's not a lot of history, but there's enough history because Notre Dame remembers the lead they gave up in the 4th quarter in the last meeting. That is a huge game with college football playoff implications. Last 2 weeks, Notre Dame's offense behind Ian Book, who at least one person in a column this week compared to Joe Montana, as you might expect. Notre Dame against Virginia Tech later on. Hubbard on the return, and he explodes just short of the 40-yard line. Good field position for the Cowboys. Hakeem Butler, his 13th career touchdown catch for Iowa State, and a young man who has bounced back from some tough life situations to become a very productive young man.
The things that Matt Campbell told us about Hakeem Butler is 2 things struck me. A special spirit about the kid, and that he's a giver in heart, not a taker. I mean, that pretty much sums up where this kid is currently. What a tremendous college football story. Cornelius
Wanted to wing it deep. And now a holding penalty is going to come in too on the back end of that play. That was the old tilt-a-whirl for Rose, who got twisted all.
Holding by number 23 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
Downstairs to Olivia.
Guys, the Cowboys offensive line got a talking to after their last drive. O-line coach Josh Henson was saying, we control what we can control, and this next series has got to look better. Even Coach Gundy came over and said, focus on your communication. You guys got to talk to each other.
Yeah, and Olivia, it was pressure in that last series. And what you're going to see out of Iowa State, typically a three-man front, but they're going to bring people when they feel like they have an advantage.
Hill gets turned around by a surge of white jerseys and Willie Harvey, who had 12 tackles last week.
And Willie Harvey is a linebacker, so you have 3 defensive linemen, typically 3 linebackers, and you have 5 defensive back corner safety combinations, but Harvey is the enforcer on that linebacker level. You have a lot of speed on the back end, but you have a lot of moving parts. Only 3 down guys, but there are guys from the back end that are going to be infused into that front end at times.
Corner came in, And Cornelius got it away across the 35. Jelani Woods becomes a semi in the secondary to the 45. And the ball did come loose at the tail end. Looks like he does get back on it.
Cornelius did a great job because what Olivia just talked about, his offensive line is getting leaky up front. And Iowa State got pressure again. Cornelius extended the play and found his big tight end roaming free on a crossing route.
And with the ball coming loose at the end, this will go to replay review. And we will check it out. But Iowa State has had so much trouble on third down defense this year. They just rather have the turnover, forget about third down.
So let's describe what's happening defensively for Iowa State again. A lot of times you have three guys on the defensive line of scrimmage. The question is, go ahead.
The other question that's part of this review, by the way, is a possible targeting foul.
And I think the targeting is Tylan Wallace on a crackback block you're seeing on your screen, and Lawrence White, number 11, got obliterated. So that's a defenseless player by category. Plus there might be
the
crown of the helmet.
The two components are if you have a defenseless player and forcible contact to the head or neck area, correct, that is targeting. The fork in the road, the second option is crown of the helmet. So if it is crown of the helmet, no matter if it's a defenseless player, which we do have here as you outlined,
right, that's
targeting as well.
And so both of them actually might be in play. If you have an indicator of targeting, some kind of a launch, and then you have a use of the crown of the helmet by the defensive player. In this case, it was the offensive player in Wallace that was cracking back as Woods was running with the football and just absolutely annihilated Lawrence White, number 11, the safety for Iowa State. So all of those things are in play, and it appeared to me that there was forcible contact above the shoulders in the head and neck.
Going to make sure as well that there wasn't a fumble. Iowa State was signaling that they had the ball. It didn't look as though it came loose before he was down. Payne went after the ball. Again, you can add targeting from the replay booth. So we're looking for either crown of the helmet or forcible contact to the head or neck area to a defenseless player. And you think there might actually be both.
Yeah, and I really believe that Tylan Wallace was trying to change his strike zone. So the question is, if the initial contact was in the shoulder and then slid upwards, sometimes it looks worse than it is because of the snap of the head. It's so violent anyway, but watch it real time and see what you think.
That's how quick it is for the officials to make the call, and that's why we're adding it to the replay booth in recent memory for college football. But again, if it's crown of the helmet, doesn't matter where the contact is.
Right. And it
After further review, the ruling that the runner was down before the ball came out stands, and there is no foul for targeting.
I think in the end, based on what we saw, I think that's a good call because it looked like Tylan Wallace initially contacted the shoulder of Lawrence White, the safety that he was cracking back on. So at the end of the day, I think that's a good job not to initiate a targeting on that play by Wallace.
Remember, in the rule book as well, it does. Forced movement. It's going to be on Oklahoma State's
Penalty, and it's still third down.
It's on Wallace. They say he moved first, creating the motion from Iowa State. So it moves him back to 3rd and 8. Iowa State, tough years so far. 3rd down defensively Cornelius wants to throw and runs right into Payne, who went by him initially and turned him aside at the end.
DeAndre Payne, number 1, is coming out from the edge, and then Jake Hummel is coming up inside from his linebacker position. A lot of games on that line of scrimmage. You start with 3, you add defenders as the play goes along, and then you play games up front. And Iowa State, there are a bunch of moving targets on that defensive line of scrimmage, and Oklahoma State is not sorting it out very well currently.
Mike Gundy was very unhappy with his offensive line the last couple of weeks, as Milton takes it on the run, and Tariq Milton short of the 40-yard line. Tomorrow, Sunday NFL Countdown, 10 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. OBJ on the Giants' 1-3 start. They need a little revamped offense. Plus, A-Rod and Patrick Mahomes discuss how Alex Rodriguez helped a young Patrick Mahomes get to the big leagues. And Monday Night Football, Drew Brees 200 yards short of Peyton Manning, most passing yards in a career. Saints and Washington, 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific on ESPN. Simulcast on ESPN2 in Spanish and on the ESPN app as well. Monday Night Countdown at 6. There's the list.
A lot of yards right there. Wow.
Drew Brees on his way deeper into the record books. Purdy, the freshman for Iowa State, invites the contact from Colby Peel. And very close to the marker.
The quarterback design run is firmly on the table currently for Iowa State. Purdy was 3 for 3 for 41 yards and a TD on that last drive, and timely runs as well.
Deshaunte Jones dancing for not a whole lot. All right, so the last drive, 7 plays, 75 yards, 7 points. You're gonna take that.
Absolutely. And Zeb Nolan didn't get much of a chance. It was a quick hook. Less about Zeb Nolan and more about what they think Brock Purdy can do. They know him from practice, and they have him now kind of acclimated to what they want to do offensively at Iowa State, and the young man is playing lights out currently.
2 guys in motion. They have to set before the snap. And they do officially for the 1 second. Purdy sets and throws and has his man, Tariq Milton, who had the punt return just moments ago. He's got a first down to the 40. Purdy looks good, huh?
He does. He's throwing the ball on time, and Milton was the motion guy on that particular play, and Oklahoma State didn't adjust very well to where Milton ended up.
Flag in.
A false start by number 57 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
It's the freshman center from Ames, Colin Newell. So you got a freshman center, freshman quarterback, but Brock Purdy comes from a very athletic family. His father was a minor league player in the 90s in professional baseball.
And he's a savvy young man. You can see that the decision making in the run game as well as the pass game, and this young man is doing a very good job currently.
So a dropped punt snap led to the first points for the Cyclones, and they have been thirsty for more. 9-7, Iowa State with the lead in the ball at the end of 1 from Stillwater. Two teams still unbeaten in the league. That's all in the Big 12. West Virginia's one up. You saw it earlier right here on ESPN2, 38-22. 4 teams in the top 25. Where does Texas go? Where does Oklahoma go after that victory for the Longhorns? The other remaining league unbeaten. So Oklahoma State with that 1 loss still certainly is in play with games remaining against Texas and West Virginia on the schedule for a Big 12 title. Nwangu invites tacklers. Kind of look like Montgomery there, who's not playing today. David Montgomery, he's the tackle breaker of this group. Right back to the line on 2nd down for the freshman quarterback at his first extended playing time, Brock Purdy. Quick throw for Milton, who gets undercut. Nicely done by Kenneth Edison Magruder. Absolutely submarining the play.
And Landon Akers, the wide receiver, just missed his block outside, and that's a trust play. The quarterback, Purdy, has thrown it out there believing that the lead blocker, in this case Landon Akers, is going to get his block, and he didn't on that play. But this is where Purdy has to prove that he's ready to play, is hold up under the pressure that he's going to get in this 3rd and pass down situation right here.
Got to get to the 30. Purdy backpedaling, got it away, and not enough for Crony, who was tripped up by Phillips. You going for it or kick it?
Yeah, I think this is a go for it category right here. You're in that position. Obviously, a punt doesn't do you any good. It would be a mammoth shot for a field goal. So I think this is a pretty easy decision, and this is where the quarterback run game is squarely on the table. And when you have a quarterback that's a viable run option, you have a perfect play designed if your quarterback makes a good decision in the run game right here.
Field goal would be about 51 yards. Instead, 4th down for Purdy. He fakes the throw, does it again, and gets the first down.
He makes some pretty good things happen. This is obviously outside the design of the play, but that's what I'm talking about, the quarterback's feet. It can be in designed runs, or it can be in runs like this, where the quarterback just makes a little bit out of nothing and extends this drive. Has a little moxie about him, doesn't it?
He absolutely does. You saw how fired up his sideline was, and they're going to be elated for this. Purdy to the end zone.
This guy's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, he is.
And all of the stuff that Brock Purdy brings to the table kind of within the play. That time it was a fake throw outside to Milton right at the very end, and he gets a defender to jump out of his run fits, and the quarterback keeps it, and all of the things that come into play when your quarterback is a viable runner of the football. And it's amazing the effect it has on a defense.
Coaches don't like surprises.
No, Brock Purdy is that surprise. And watch the little head fake right at the end. The pass fake outside, and then number 15 having flashbacks, all the records he set in high school. Pretty special player already.
Well, 1 year in the minors, Brock Purdy's dad was managed by Mario Mendoza of the famed Mendoza line of 200. His son has been well better than 200 so far today in Stillwater. 7 for 7, 63 on the ground, 55 in the air. And Oklahoma State sees the ball again, but trailing big time. Hubbard had a nice return last time, and he skates across the 30, back to the touchdown.
Well, in Oklahoma's defensive design, the safeties have to make a lot of decisions, and the safety right here is going to be in a bind. At the end of the day, he's stuck between two offensive players, and he goes for the ball fake by Purdy, and Purdy ends up in the end zone. And it's a pretty heady player. Jason, that's what I do to you on the playground. You always go for the ball fake.
I would go for a ball fake executed by a chair. So you can keep being self-congratulatory.
I've actually seen you do that.
Uh-huh.
Actually, in pregame, I saw you do that.
From the 32, Justice Hill, a first down run, and he's to the 40. Chris Cotter.
Justice Hill's a pretty good back. So's Travis Etienne, coming off a 200-yard, 3-touchdown performance last week. Here takes the handoff easily into the end zone at Grove Stadium. 14-0. Clemson on top over on ESPN.
Bounce back game for the Tigers, who nearly took a header against Syracuse last weekend, but came back and won. Cornelius on the throw to Landon Wolf, who had a big game last week, and this is into plus territory inside the 40.
Oklahoma State hasn't been in rhythm yet, but keep in mind they want to go fast. It's get the ball out to playmakers and let your dudes do something in space. That's what Oklahoma is about. And Iowa State has to be a very, very sound tackling team today, and they weren't on that play.
Got to get your dudes the ball, right?
How do you get your dudes the ball? Who are my dudes? And then how do we get our dudes the ball? That's what this game is about.
Cornelius under siege again, right up the middle. Spencer Benton, the senior, right in his face.
And one of the things, Jason, that struck me when I was watching Oklahoma State this week is their offensive line does not do a very good job of sorting out things up front and communicating in the run game or in the pass game. And we saw it on that play, and we've seen it actually the last 3 drives. Very leaky.
How does that make you feel as a quarterback? What does that make you do?
Not very comfortable. You get very jittery in the backfield, and sometimes your eyes go down instead of staying up to see the coverage.
Cornelius, open space across the 30. The quarterbacks both jaunting on the ground today. It's a first down at the 21.
Mike Gundy told us this yesterday, that Cornelius seems to be better when he runs the football a little more. And right now, that's about the best thing that Oklahoma State's offense has going for him, is timely running by Taylor Cornelius.
He was an all-state player in 4 separate sports just outside of Amarillo growing up. And here he launches down the middle, batted away. DeAndre Payne in front of Johnson.
Payne did a great job at closing. If that ball could have been out a little sooner by Cornelius and driven a little bit more, this is a driving shot. There's a little bit too much air and finesse with that ball. Drive it in there, drive it upfield just a little bit more, and then DeAndre Payne has less time to break on that ball and knock it down.
Hubbard sneaks through, and Hubbard down to the 11. Took Brian Peavy to go after his shoe tops to knock him down. Cowboys substitute Dylan Stoner, who was injured last week, has checked in as part of the 3 wide in the formation.
And Stoner is that quick guy, the slot guy inside, and he's a great red zone target for Cornelius.
Picking his way inside the 10. They do have a chance at a first down at the 1. This will be second down.
Defending in the Big 12 means that you have to know personnel. You have to know who the dudes are for the other team. And then you have to defend a lot of formationing. That time it was strictly to get to an empty set so Cornelius could actually run the quarterback draw, and pretty well defended up in the tackle box for Iowa State.
Cornelius, end zone, and incomplete. He wanted Wallace, who didn't have enough room at the sideline. Third down.
That was really Wallace's fault. Wallace has to give Cornelius a little bit more room. This ball definitely floats out of bounds, but there wasn't a lot of room there. Fight a little harder inside and give the quarterback a little bit more throw zone to that sideline.
Just a couple steps you're talking about?
A couple steps. Wallace was doing the right thing by fighting through the press coverage, but just do it a little bit further inside, and you extend the strike zone a little bit for your quarterback.
Wolf finds his way in. Landon Wolf, touchdown.
Oklahoma State, Jason, always makes you defend the entire field. A great job blocking up front by Tyron Johnson, and that's what wide receivers have to do in this spread, hurry-up offenses of today in college football. They have to block, and Johnson did a terrific job on that play, as did Stoner that we saw enter the game.
Took those senior corners out of play as pass defenders, and Wolf, who got a scholarship before the year and had a huge spring game for Oklahoma State, has a score to break the Cyclone run here in the second.
ESPN College Football Brought to you by Dave & Buster's, the only place to eat, drink, play, and watch sports.
The Endeavor Engineering Lab here at Oklahoma State, an arena for indoor drone flying, is a headliner. 3D printers, water encased in a clear 35-foot tube, the only undergraduate facility of its kind in the United States.
That would be a blast to go fly some of those drones inside.
Why didn't you say this yesterday? We were here on campus.
Didn't even know it existed. How long have you had that been sitting on that story?
I've known that for a decade and a half.
No, they haven't had that. They're 10.5 years ago, they didn't have anything called a drone.
You are so astute.
About.
It's outrageous.
Thank you.
This one is out of bounds. Bad news for Oklahoma State. Good news. SEC Pac-12 combo pack. Chris Cotter.
Yeah, we do. You know LSU's unbeaten, but they got a tough task in the swamp today. LaMichael Pirine is going to score for the Gators. All even. Arizona State and Colorado. Eno Benjamin. Sun Devils got themselves a tailback. This kid's been waiting his turn. Over the top, he scores. Arizona State strikes first inside Folsom Field, guys. And meanwhile, on ABC, Florida State, Miami, Lawrence Cager is going to be on the receiving end of this. This rivalry one day was the best in all of college football. Still pretty good, though, tied on ABC.
Still real good. Always electric. Florida State and Miami. We'll see the Hurricanes next week at UVA, as Iowa State's gotten its best ground attack from the quarterback so far, but some pretty strong numbers.
Yeah, and when you don't have David Montgomery playing, you need strong numbers to come from somewhere. The rest of the guys in the running back room are just supplements to Montgomery, quite frankly. And Brock Purdy is the guy that has to make a difference. And so far, the last couple of drives, he's done just that.
Nwangu, is second down carry, and the straight ahead running game is not there today as Justin Phillips made the stop.
I don't like the two running back running game versus just the quarterback being your second running back.
Why not?
I like to expand things a little bit and put the ball in the hands of your playmaker, which is right now, we just got done talking about, is Brock Purdy. The quarterback zone read, the young man is comfortable with, and it's been highly productive recently in this last part of the football game.
First extended playing time ever for Purdy in college football. Down the sideline he goes, batted away late. He wanted Eaton, and Rodarius Williams over the top, got a hand in, beautifully done.
Well covered by Williams, and Iowa State will take a shot from time to time, but it's more based on the size of Butler than it is the speed of Butler. And actually this was Eaton that particular time, but it's one-on-one outside, which is a quarterback you like to see that, but Iowa State is built size-wise, not speed-wise, and there wasn't a lot of separation right there.
First incompletion for the freshman Purdy. Done the punt. And don't forget, tonight on ABC, a top 25 matchup in Blacksburg. Number 6 Notre Dame, after destructing the Stanford tree, takes on the Hokies, who have that loss at Old Dominion. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC and the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Ian Book, the newcomer, 74% completion rate.
If you look at those that have a real shot at being in the college football playoff, how many of those teams, including Ian Book and Notre Dame, have youngsters that have been inserted at the quarterback position that are making it happen and really made their teams completely different in the pass game?
I heard Dave Pasch and Greg McElroy talking about it earlier with Tua. This is a guy who is really a first-year starter, even though he played the national championship game. As Cornelius gets it away to Wolf, who had the most recent touchdown. And a marker comes in as well. Jatarius Grant was there on the tackle. We'll check the flag at the 35. Oklahoma State has damaged itself with penalties so far today, that's for sure.
Holding by number 13 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still first down.
It's penalty number 5 and it goes against Johnson.
And that's the recipe for getting beat by Iowa State. Iowa State makes you play a complete game and a smart game, and the penalties that are showing up for Oklahoma State right now just keeps the door open for Iowa State.
Hill, the tailback. Justice Hill gives ground. And we mentioned this earlier. We were talking to Mike Gundy. He said Iowa State makes your offensive coordinator impatient. For me, it's kind of like the guy who keeps punching the elevator button when it's already coming.
Right.
You want to do something about it, you can't.
Yeah, or you're in traffic like me and you zig and zag and you end up behind the same guy you were 20 minutes ago, and he was just taking his time. And that's what Iowa State forces. They create clutter on the back end and they create penetration in a timely manner on the front end, which we saw in that last play.
Off the 6th tackle for loss today. That's a low line drive at the 30 and incomplete. Wolf couldn't get his hands underneath, and it's 3rd down at 21.
And that was a poor pass by Taylor Cornelius. This is a curl route coming back between 3 defenders. There's a big enough window there, and the quarterback Cornelius just kind of short-armed one. He wasn't quite sure because that route was being squeezed from both sides.
Looked like the right call at 2nd and 3rd look. They've got to get all the way to the 39 on 3rd down. Cornelius under pressure. And he's hit as he throws by Willie Harvey, the senior, who busted down the door again.
There we see the pressure again and the lack of Oklahoma State sorting that pressure out. Iowa State typically plays with 3 defensive linemen in the game. 3 linebackers, and then their nickel coverage on the back end. It's a combination of safeties and corners, but they always add guys when they need to, and they're adding them from places that right now Oklahoma State isn't figuring it out.
Milton out of bounds at the 44. Another freshman touching the ball for Iowa State. The quarterback, Purdy, is a freshman. You're not going to see many vets on the Cyclone side, though there are some right here. Well, the buttons are small, but the screen that they operate is large. Our backstage pass here in Stillwater is the new video board at Boone Pickens Stadium. 56 feet tall, 110 feet wide, the 8th largest video board in college football, 1080 HD resolution. They've had Gary Busey's picture on it in the past. They have an angle toward fun with it, and a neat new feature here in Stillwater. That's our backstage pass. Purdy to throw. Down the middle, he has a dagger to Akers. Inside the 2-yard line. He beat Rodarius Williams, Landon Akers the strike.
And I think this just simply caught Oklahoma State defensively by surprise. It was a go route to the post by Akers and just ran right by Williams. Williams acted like he is expecting help inside.
There are flags coming in from the state of Texas on the false start here.
That's because half of the Iowa State offensive line moved.
A false start, number 88 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still 1st down.
He almost got in if not for this touchdown-saving tackle from Williams.
It was great hustle by Williams, and you'll see how this drive actually plays out. We'll focus on that touchdown-saving tackle again. Sometimes it's the little things that make a difference, and Iowa State has already followed up that big play with an early jump by the offensive line, and they blamed it on Sainer, but it was actually about 3 guys up front.
Milton in motion. Purdy the other way off the fake. He throws. Seed Buckner incomplete.
Brock Purdy is pretty sharp. He was dead to rights outside, and then he's going to have his tight end fullback, seen Buckner outside, and just short-armed it a little bit.
How often do you see a guy drop a ball and immediately go to his head with the two hands? He's so frustrated the ball's not even out of his grip.
No kidding. And that was an easy one that got away from both Purdy and seen Buckner right there.
Iowa State's tight ends haven't scored a touchdown in 4 seasons. They have Charlie Kohler in the game, one of the tight ends, and another false start.
A false start, number 63 of the offense. It's a 5-yard penalty, and it's still second down.
And Jason, remember that that touchdown-saving tackle by Rodarius Williams, as Iowa State is going backwards on this drive, and we'll see how this drive ends, but Williams could have easily held Iowa State to a field goal attempt right here based on the way this drive's going.
Cyclone staring at that new video board, trying to beat down its door. Crony right down the center to the end zone.
Oklahoma State is having a hard time getting a fit up front, and that was just a simple zone inside with the quarterback running an RPO to the outside, and that actually looked like it might have been a called give, even though Brock Purdy went through with the run fake or the pass fake outside, but not well defended, obviously, up inside by Oklahoma State.
Well, they got him real close with Purdy to Akers down the seam. They were knocking on the door, couple of penalties, but Sheldon Crony, whose uncle Joey Porter never would have let him get in this easily, pays it off. This season, Taco Bell is celebrating student sections and passionate fans just like these by awarding the best student section of the year. The Oklahoma State Cowboys student section is already on the national watch list. Go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete. Kelly Stauffer on the watch list for National Analyst of the Year. Here's Chris Cotter.
All right, guys, halftime coming up. Emmanuel Ocho and Jim Mora will join me. Wait till you see the highlights of Colorado is taking the lead. Meanwhile, here comes Ohio State. J.K. Dobbins with the score there. It's 7-3 after 1.
Close game in the Big Ten. Another upset would really cause some strife in the Big Ten as far as the college football playoff goes. Oklahoma State from the 25. Iowa State just got in. Justice Hill, who was very lightly recruited. Mike Gundy said, we thought that we had maybe a change of pace back. Instead, he's one of the best in the country.
He's a workhorse back that they probably need to hitch the wagon to right here. This offense is inconsistent, to say the least. They had a scoring drive and then minus 26 on the next 2 drives, and then another scoring drive, and then their last drive went backwards again.
Hill a second time on this drive, and he shows some of that shiftiness to set up 3rd and 2. But Justice Hill, you hear from people that he was around growing up. He took up a musical instrument, learned it almost immediately, helped some other people in the class with their homework, was always the guy who learned everything very quickly. And we've seen that at Oklahoma State after a very strong freshman season, building to his junior year. Third straight carry for Hill, and look at him duck in for yardage to the 38, first down.
And he's an efficient running back as well, and there have been comparisons to Barry Sanders, not because of the style of play, but more of kind of the disposition, kind of humble and quiet.
Wow, Cornelius didn't know the snap was coming. In fact, only one person did, and that botched play ends up going for 0.
Yeah, this is a center not understanding the snap count because nobody else was expecting this. And then Johnny Wilson snaps it back, and it's very fortunate that nobody was moving on the defensive side either.
He's going to get the nickname Johnny Dangerously pretty quickly. He keeps doing that. So you get to do it once.
Yeah.
Only once.
It's not good when the only one that's wrong is the guy snapping the football.
Second down, Cornelius. Pressure coming again, and he is dumped. Third and long coming up as we check in with Olivia.
Yeah, guys, and that frustration for Taylor Cornelius is only building. On their last drive, he came to the sideline, and there was a lot of confusion and a lot of back and forth on the mixed message on the drive. And he's so experienced. He's such a veteran behind Mason Rudolph all that time. He says to some of the GAs, look, I got it, back off. I know this offense, but the frustration's building for sure.
Yeah, you know who doesn't have it? His offensive line. They're not blocking anybody currently.
4 sacks of Cornelius. We're not done with the first half in Stillwater. It holds up this time. Cornelius goes down the middle, and Payne absolutely got beat by Landon Wolf. Beautiful grab.
And Payne actually had pretty decent coverage, and there was safety help with 2 high safeties, and Landon Wolf ran a nice route, but it was where the ball was placed.
Gain of 27. Cornelius looking for him again. Just missed.
Those 2 routes are complementary to one another. The previous route, Wolf actually ran to the post, and this time he set the post on the safety and then went over the top and had a step, and the ball was just a little bit overthrown. But 2 balls that were pretty well thrown by Cornelius on those last 2 plays.
Hubbard, the tailback, skates outside. He's got a first down, Oklahoma State. Each team with all 3 timeouts. No hurry for Oklahoma State here. Iowa State was down in this game 7-0. Then a safety helped turn their fortune. Cornelius, sideline, got it! Tyron Johnson!
Tyron Johnson just runs a go route, and the safety Braxton Lewis was, you can see coming in right at the very end, was just late. Payne, the underneath coverage, thought that he had safety help over the top. That safety's really playing over top of 2 different routes, and the go route got by Payne, and the safety Lewis could not get there in time.
Cornelius today 6 completions, 3 for touchdowns, and a game that took 42 plus to win last year. Looks like it's headed that way again. Chris Cotter in the studio.
A little bit, we'll recap Texas and Oklahoma. What an amazing game we saw down there in Dallas, plus LSU in action right now. Down in the swamp, they're getting a game from the Gators. Clemson also, Trevor Lawrence back at quarterback, playing Wake Forest. Highlights of those games and a whole lot more coming your way.
You know, it's interesting, Chris, that transfer rule comes into play for Clemson with the quarterback situation. We saw it here with Oklahoma State as well with the wide receiver Jalen McCleskey, and that's part of the reason you see more balls for guys like Johnson and Wolf. McCleskey, very productive wide receiver, decided to utilize the new rule and leave the program.
And a guy who threw the ball well on that last drive, Taylor Cornelius, hasn't utilized the transfer rule. And so you have a 5th-year senior that's a really good story, waited around for a long time, is a tough kind of West Texas kid, and gets his opportunity to lead this offense, and threw the ball really, really well deep on that last series.
Johnson, the LSU transfer, with the touchdown. And this leads to a touchback. Freshman quarterback Brock Purdy on the other side. He just walked onto campus recently. He's been brilliant.
Yeah, walk onto campus and start running the football. And he's a very heady quarterback. You can see that he played a lot of football, but it's his playmaking ability, kind of a little Brett Favre-esque in a sense, and doing a lot of things outside the design, a lot of ball fakes, and he makes things happen. And you saw it from the first moment he got on the field. He's 8 out of 10, 110 yards, and he has 63 on the ground and 6 carries, and he's decided well. He's been a decisive guy at that position also.
His cavalier has been a little bit more controlled than your typical gunslinger type. He goes down the middle here for Milton and put it right on his fingertips. That's a beautiful ball into plus territory.
You can't place the ball any better than that right there. There was a very, very tiny window. Tell me if you're the quarterback, if you can throw that ball in there. That was terrifically well covered and just wasn't covered enough for a perfect throw.
What young quarterback have you seen with this many ball fakes in a first major playing time situation?
I don't remember it. The only one that utilizes the ball fake like this is, I already said, Brett Favre back in the day, and he was always doing something like that with the ball in his hand. Do you have someone in mind?
I don't recall ever seeing this. It takes some confidence to do that for a young man who'd played all of 2 snaps before. Purdy to run. And he got yanked back. Could be a flag and a personal foul coming against Justin Phillips.
And I don't know if it was late, but it certainly was a horse collar. I think the quarterback, Purdy, was pulled down by the back of the
Personal
collar.
foul, horse collar tackle by number 19 of the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty, and it's a first down.
Now you can grab and let go. If you grab and pull and it creates the tackle, then you've got the flag.
And another one of those penalties that we've talked about is something that Iowa State rarely does. They're one of the most, or the least penalized teams in all the country, and Oklahoma State is making a lot of mental mistakes here this afternoon.
Lang in motion. Purdy always scanning upfield, and he goes down at the 25. Jarrell Owens, the redshirt senior, with the stop.
Well, we knew that Brock Purdy could run the football and that we would see more of that when he was in the game, but this young man has great finesse on the football and great touch, and his ball placement has been impeccable.
And his runnings neutralized this pass rush that's so strong at times for Oklahoma State. Purdy again gets doused. Third down coming up, down to 45 seconds and below. Third and 9. No timeout taken by Oklahoma State here. A little surprising, with a chance to get the ball back. Still over on third down. Purdy to the end zone. Oh, Eaton falling to the ground. Sorcery in the end zone.
Well, Darius Williams, the corner for Oklahoma State, is wondering what he has to do to cover somebody. He's basically in the shirt pocket of Eaton, and the ball is apparently caught. There's infighting down the way, and as Eaton is pushed to the ground or falls to the ground, he catches the football. Great ball placement once again by a true freshman quarterback in Brock Purdy, but you can't cover a guy much better than that by Williams.
You think about what his teammates say about Matthew Eaton and how dedicated he is to what he does. There's a story from a year ago when he is the last guy at the facility. They asked, you know, how are you getting your work done if nobody else is there? He said, I brought my girlfriend. She was feeding footballs into the machine, and I was trying to figure out how to catch him. Not the most inspiring date maybe for her, but it works out very well for him and his craft.
We'll see if the girlfriend sticks around, but what you have outside is you have length much more than you have speed, and you have guys in Jones and Hakeem Butler and Matthew Eaton that finish on the football well. And a lot of times I would take that over speed. If I have length and a good catch radius and guys that will finish on the football like their life depends on it, I would take that over speed at times, and that's what you see out of Iowa State offensively out on the perimeter. Can we get an update to see if that girlfriend is still in the picture? Pretty dedicated girlfriend.
Very dedicated. Little chip shot here to the 30. And Oklahoma State, if it so chooses, will have a chance maybe for some points here. Iowa State gets on the pile. Let's see if the ball did come loose, and the Cyclones recovered it as they unpacked the pile. No signal that direction. Looks like it will be Oklahoma State football. I think the Cyclones have themselves a quarterback, though.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Offside.
Devontae Ruth, the injured party.
The kicking team. It's a 5-yard penalty.
Take a look at the possible fumble at the end of the play. To me, it looks like the arm's down.
He's definitely down. The elbow's down, the forearm's down before that ball comes out. But if your number starts in a 4, you don't want to be leaving your feet to try to make a play. It's kind of a good rule of thumb. If you're a tight end, fullback type guy, stay on the ground.
Yeah, keep yourself grounded. So the freshman Brock Purdy, 233, 3 touchdowns, trying to be the first quarterback for Iowa State to win in Stillwater since Sage Rosenfels. They were trailing 23-20 going into the 4th quarter, 13-3 to finish the game to create some distance, and that is heady company. Sage Rosenfels, one of the best all time at Iowa State, if not the best quarterback for the Cyclones. And for a team that put up just 14 points last week and struggled offensively, it has been a rebirth under the freshman quarterback Purdy. Oklahoma State with timeouts to spare. Hill on the run. And the fans are booing here in Stillwater. A little quizzical on the play call, don't you think?
Yeah, and
they're going to use a timeout. Now they use a timeout.
Yeah, I think that was poor management, but quintessential kind of short time or 2-minute offensives. A lot of times you start it with a draw to see what kind of production you get. If it's productive, typically then you put the pedal to the metal, but I don't know why then you call a timeout with 10 seconds left.
When you didn't call one with Iowa State having the ball and you could have had a chance. Sports Center tonight after Utah Stanford. Bucci and Stan have it for you. Complete post-fight breakdown from UFC 229. The best from college football still developing today. Key moments from Game 2s in Houston and Boston. Red Sox and Astros winners yesterday. Sports Center after Utah Stanford on ESPN and the ESPN app.
So, Jason, probably what we have here is the timeout, 10 seconds left to try to see how strong the arm is of Taylor Cornelius and get this ball somewhere close to the end zone.
Could squeeze in one play here as pressure comes. Down he goes, and that might be the end of the line for Oklahoma State in the half. Jaquan Bailey with the sack, and that does it. Well, after the surgical opening drive for Oklahoma State and the defense getting a stop, we thought this would go one direction, and so often it takes a veer on a college football Saturday. 5 sacks in the half for Iowa State. We go back to Chris Cotter for the halftime report right after these messages. To ESPN College Football presented by ExxonMobil, and in Stillwater, a shock. Not the score necessarily, but how it happened. Brock Purdy, the freshman quarterback for Iowa State, was brilliant, and his team had the lead 30-21. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Decker along with you. And look, we told you that Purdy's dad, Sean, was a minor league baseball player. He was a pitcher at Miami, and he was poised, according to his former roommate, our colleague, Eduardo Perez. And Eddie said, look, son looks just like dad right now.
No kidding. And what juice does this offense have with that young man running? And that's the difference in this offense for Iowa State, is his ability to run the football, but his precision passing is what has surprised me. We knew he was a dual threat runner type guy, but he's throwing the ball extremely well in this first half.
He is a major part of our Pacific Life game summary, which we will see after the kickoff. But yeah, I was talking to Eduardo Perez during halftime, and he was having flashbacks to Sean Purdy with the way Brock looks. 30-21. Iowa State with the lead. Oklahoma State gets the ball. And another kick out of bounds, this time from the Cyclones. As we take a look at that teased Pacific Life game summary, and it begins with the young man Brock Purdy.
Well, we
He's
knew,
outstanding.
yeah, we knew we were going to see Brock Purdy, and we didn't know we were going to see him this early, but Purdy's ability to run the football has made a huge difference, but his headiness has been amazing, and then his precision passing, and his receivers have made plays. And Taylor Cornelius, on the other hand, has thrown the ball well when he's had time, but he's been under duress the entire first half, and Oklahoma State has to figure some things out up front on the offensive line of scrimmage if they're going to get something done in this second half.
Iowa State shows up here with 6 sacks for the year and turns Cornelius inside out as Mike Rose makes the stop, the freshman middle linebacker who's had an outstanding first year for Iowa State. Great lineage for Rose, his grandfather a former college football player in his own right. Wind starting to pick up here in Stillwater as Hill navigates outside, and he's turned back by Rose. Third down.
And Hill is really, in a sense, that stabilizing factor. When your offensive line is not protecting well in the pass game, then you give it to Justice Hill a little bit and try to get in that third and manageable situation, which they are right now. But Oklahoma State has to find a way to be efficient, because Iowa State's defensive MO is to force you to do that offensively.
Hill just 2 and change per carry on the day. Cornelius, far side, has the completion to Tylan Wallace. It's a first down, Oklahoma State, just short of the 50.
And as far as Iowa State's concerned, this is not a bad defensive play. It's good coverage outside. It's a back shoulder throw. It's a good throw and catches needed to overcome that coverage right there.
Long throw. Johnson. Tyron Johnson. First down inside the 40.
Now, Jason, in a nutshell, what Iowa State wants to do defensively is they want the offense to have to be patient and much more methodical than Big 12 offenses are used to doing.
They were moving at the snap. The defensive line was flowing when the ball came back, and Hill sets up a second down and 6.
Not a lot of sub packages on the defensive side for Iowa State for this purpose. Playing defense in the Big 12, you typically don't have a lot of time. And so put your best 11 out there and let them roll. And it's less about matching up with the personnel changes that you see in this conference.
Cornelius has time this time. Stoner! Touchdown! He did get in. Reminiscent of the opening drive of the first quarter.
And what a throw by Taylor Cornelius. Stoner is going to get over the top of linebacker Marcel Spears at the line of scrimmage, and then it's a seam route. Play fake up inside, and Taylor Cornelius pulls the ball out of the belly of Hill and then throws a BB. That is a tough throw over top of the coverage underneath before the safety can get over there and defend it. It doesn't get much better than that throwing as a quarterback.
Question is, when the elbow went down, was the ball across the line? Some evidence to the contrary, maybe the leg as well.
I think it's the knee down, and that ball is about probably at the half-yard line. I think if they were thinking about the elbow, it would be a touchdown, but it's the knee and the ball down just inside the 1-yard line, as far as I can tell.
So replay taking a look at it.
And it actually might be about right at the 1-yard line.
After further review, the runner's knee was down at the 1.5-yard line with the ball at the 1-yard line. It's first down.
So they'll have it at the 1. Key is where the ball is. Mike Gundy will have to draw up a 1-yard scoring play alongside his offensive coordinator, Mike Yurcich.
And typically this is Justice Hill territory. And Justice Hill is a really, really good drive finisher, because high-powered offenses are great between the 20s, but you have to find a way to score touchdowns, and that way typically down here is Justice Hill.
He's had a rushing touchdown in 11 straight games. The junior tailback from down the road in Tulsa. Cornelius has eyes on the pylon. Touchdown!
If you don't give it to Justice Hill, use him as a decoy, and this was a naked boot out the back door, and Jaquan Bailey, the defensive end number 3 for Iowa State, was completely fooled, was chasing the running back and tried to peel back and couldn't catch up with Taylor Cornelius.
Amendola for the extra point. Kind of get the feeling that 30's not going to win it today.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that Oklahoma State isn't going anywhere. Oklahoma State feeds on big plays, but they also know how to finish things off.
Stoner got him to the 1. Cornelius pays it off. The Cowboys on the board. Welcome back to ESPN College Football, presented by ExxonMobil, and just a dandy today in Stillwater. Oklahoma State trying to stay in the Big 12 race with the loss of Oklahoma earlier. 2 unbeatens remaining in league play, 1 overall unbeaten. That's West Virginia, who you saw beat Kansas earlier right here on ESPN2. Texas still undefeated in the Big 12, but that's it. So there's certainly a chance it's playable for Oklahoma State with games against both of those schools remaining, but they've got to have this one, you'd imagine. They're on the board first here in the second half, in under 3 minutes on their opening drive. As we go downstairs to Olivia Decker with Matt Campbell.
Coach, we thought we would see quarterback Brock Purdy, but not that early. What prompted the change, and what are you seeing?
Well, you know, it's just some of the mobility kind of allows us to open some things up offensively, and he's had great poise, and he's a young man that's come in on our program and been really impressive. And, you know, we're just waiting for his time, and certainly he's taking advantage of it right now.
It's impressive on the sideline, too. I don't have to tell you, Iowa State hasn't won in Stillwater in 18 years. What are you all doing right now that could change that?
Yeah, we just got to keep playing. You know, this team's been a team of resolve, and, you know, they play really hard, and now we got to play and win with detail here in the second half.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Matt Campbell, the head coach for Iowa State. Purdy down the middle. Butler got turned around and still yanked it in. Hakeem Butler to the 35-yard line.
The run-pass option is something that Brock Purdy is used to. Ran this a lot in high school, and A.J. Green is matched up on Butler.
And that's a mismatch, at least in terms of height for Butler. But he used the strength there to turn him around as well as second down comes up.
And then you see Iowa State wanting to go faster as well. That's something they haven't used a lot of this year is tempo, but Brock Purdy seems very comfortable going at a pretty high pace.
He's played all but one series in this game. In for Zeb Nolan. Nwangu in motion. Nwangu keeps his feet, turns it upfield. Nice run by Nwangu. Edison Magruder missed the tackle at the point of attack.
One of the ways that Iowa State likes to get outside is Nwangu in this particular case in a fly motion. Comes from left to right, and then that's essentially their perimeter run game is through that fly motion a lot of times.
Playing without David Montgomery, who's such a skilled tackle breaker. Nwangu in motion again. The fake that way. Purdy, end zone, on target, touchdown, Deshaunte Jones. Purdy has been lethal in Stillwater.
This is a great lesson on how one play sets up another. The fly sweep motion, and you give it to the running back the previous play, and this time you send the running back out there on that fly motion again, and you fake the throw to him, and then Jones works up the sideline. Instead of being a blocker this time, he's running a go route into the back of the end zone.
Well, we heard Brock Purdy is very well liked by his teammates, but come Monday on campus, he's going to have thousands more friends. After this today, to the end zone for Jones and another for Purdy.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Coke Zero Sugar.
If you like business, maybe Oklahoma State is for you. The new Spears School of Business building, $72 million. They have a trading room that simulates Wall Street inside the building. That is big time right there at Oklahoma State. But the bull market is the Purdy market right now. Iowa State's young quarterback with 2 incompletions. More touchdowns than incompletions in the game. They've scored a touchdown in 5 of their last 6 drives, as Hubbard is back to receive for Oklahoma State. And it's a touchback as we go back to the touchdown.
And a great look of how you put plays together. Nwangu has ran the fly sweep motion on the play before, and so the defense thinks the same play is coming again. The quarterback is going to isolate one guy outside. The safety has his eyes wrong. Instead of Deshaunte Jones blocking that nickel safety, he goes by him and goes to the corner of the end zone. And the fly sweep motion the play before set that play up, and that defender thought it was going to Nwangu again, and obviously it went to Jones in the back of the end zone.
Wolf. Oh, Eisworth was right there at the door. Second down. You said his eyes were wrong on that touchdown. Where do you want them to be?
Your eyes initially, I mean, once you see the ball coming outside or the motion coming outside, you have to maintain leverage, but also you're in pass coverage to begin with. And so if a receiver is out there, you have to be engaged with him before your eyes go into the backfield.
Quick throw, Wolf. Tripped up. Lawrence White, the redshirt sophomore out of Bakersfield, California, who got his first start in the Liberty Bowl last year, sets up 3rd down. Cornelius out of the pocket, down the sideline, knocked away by Payne. Johnson the target. Iowa State allowed Oklahoma State to chip for a couple yards, but nothing more than that.
And once again, though, you see the Iowa State pressure moving Cornelius outside the pocket, so the rhythm is disrupted. And then Cornelius tries to throw the back shoulder to Johnson, but very well covered by DeAndre Payne. But it's that Iowa State pressure, and Oklahoma State just not figuring out how to solve the pressure up front to protect their quarterback.
Milton lets it roll and tries to get his teammates out of the way back at the 31. Tonight on ABC, we will be watching somewhere here in Stillwater, top 25 matchup in Blacksburg. Undefeated Notre Dame after beating Stanford against the Hokies, who are 3-1. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC and the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo. Last 2 weeks, Notre Dame's offense has been virtually unstoppable. Yeah. Question is, what does Virginia Tech's defense do, and enters Sandman do to them?
Well, you know that Bud Foster is going to try to confuse the youngster Ian Book. I mean, that's certainly going to be what the game plan is all about in Blacksburg this evening.
Purdy goes down. It's so interesting to canvass the country and talk about different styles and ways of playing, because Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator for Oklahoma State, is getting his first taste of the tempo of the Big 12, and he is a fantastic coach, but it's a different sensation when you're here on the sideline, isn't it?
Yeah, there isn't any question about it, and he got indoctrinated into that against Texas Tech, and it didn't go very well. It's all about defending personnel and defending a lot of formation eight.
Purdy on the run, has some speed, gets across the 40 as a flag comes in. And Butler went down on the play as well at the sideline. Could be another horse collar against Bundage.
Personal foul, grabbing a helmet opening by the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty, and it's a first down.
Penalties have really hurt Oklahoma State so far today.
We believe this is going to, yeah, right there on Bundage, Kelvin Bundage reaching in, and he's one of those hinge points defensively is Kelvin Bundage. He's kind of a hybrid linebacker that rushes the passer and has been very good at getting pressure for Oklahoma State today.
Purdy wings it down the edge, and this is knocked away. Flag has come in on the sideline. A.J. Green with the coverage against Johnson, the freshman from Little Rock. And we'll check the marker.
This had to happen early in the route, and I wonder if A.J. Green is going to get called for the hold early in the route by
Pass
Josh
interference
Johnson.
by number 4 of the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
A.J. Green is covering Josh Johnson out wide at the top, and I thought it might be a hold as the double move. Johnson goes by him. Hard to tell right there.
They get interference instead. Purdy thought about throwing and now sinks down at the 31. Justin Phillips, the redshirt senior, whose family is from Guyana in Africa.
That double move outside by Josh Johnson was a good indication of how Iowa State kind of has to build their big plays. They have to get them by design. The double move, they don't have a lot of guys on the perimeter for Iowa State offensively that can just run by guys.
Purdy on the roll, went to the second level. It's incomplete. There was some contact with Landon Akers. Waniki was closer to the ball than anybody.
Yeah, that was the first bad decision that I've seen out of the young quarterback today, and he should have just dumped that ball immediately to Sean Buckner in the flat. That's your first read on that, and when you start to roll outside, you have a fullback in the flat, and then you have an over route, which was Akers, and that ball should have came out immediately to the big fullback.
That's going nowhere. So now you've got a big decision as a flag has come in. We'll check the marker. Brailford got the stop.
Illegal motion by number 25 of the offense. Penalty is declined. It's fourth down.
All right, so what do you do here, Kelly Stauffer?
Well, this is different than the first half when it was 4th and 4 in this situation. So, once again, you're in kind of no man's land. I think if you're Iowa State, play field position right here a little bit with try to get Oklahoma State backed up.
That looks like what they'll do. 4th and 11.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game than the 4th and 4 that Iowa State was successful on in that first half when Matt Campbell made that decision.
Dunn the punt. And it's touched initially at the 10-yard line by Landon Akers. A chill has fallen here in Stillwater. We've lost more than 10 degrees since game time. Oklahoma State trailing. First down carry for Justice Hill tonight on ABC. Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. big game coming up. Ian Book and the Fighting Irish against the Hokies, trying to stay unbeaten Notre Dame. That's 8 Eastern on ABC from Lane Stadium. Full day of college football. Oklahoma State trying to keep that one loss in the Big 12 after falling to Texas Tech earlier this year. A couple of games left that are huge in the conference race if they can sneak out with a win here. Cornelius on the roll. And he throws it away. 3rd down coming up. Mentioned Cornelius from the Amarillo area. Oklahoma State has a lot of guys from Oklahoma, a lot of guys from Texas, but we mentioned Phillips from Guyana, some South Americans, certainly some players from Africa as well. So there's a pipeline overseas for Oklahoma State. But Cornelius, very much a local product from Bushland, Texas. Cornelius, free runner. He got away from Harvey and threw it short. Harvey certainly sped up his heart rate. 4th down coming up.
And yet another example of Iowa State just not getting it in terms of protecting their quarterback. And that was by design. Iowa State covered up the center and both guards and then showed some linebacker pressure from inside. And then Willie Harvey came from the outside. And what it does, Jason, it creates a one-on-one outside with the right tackle and Jenkins just totally whipped on the linebacker Harvey blitzing.
Under a minute on the possession. Too many times today, Cornelius has seen a white jersey coming for him. As Milton fades back inside the 20 now. Milton to the sideline, then turns it upfield and gets it across the 25. And that is all. Brock Purdy has been tremendous for Iowa State.
I thought you were going to say Brock Purdy has been Purdy, but
Purdy good.
His decision-making has been fantastic in the run game, and the ball fake outside, and you get the whole package with this young man. He's also had receivers that made plays for him, but the rule of thumb as a quarterback is put it where they can catch it. And Purdy has done a really good job with that, and some great design offensively for Iowa State also. Iowa State is really, really well coached by Matt Campbell and his staff, and you've seen that today so far.
Nwangu squeezes through a hole, and he gets himself 5 yards.
And so you see Iowa State going to more of that fly sweep motion. And Jason, we talked about keeping your eyes right as a defender, and what that motion does is it gets defenders looking at the wrong thing. Run defense is about gap fitting, and you have to know where your eyes should be. And if your eyes get in the wrong place, you're in the wrong gap, and all of a sudden you get gashed in the run game.
Not going to get gashed here. Bundage absolutely explodes that play on Nwangu.
And Bundage is kind of that big play edge setter. He's going to get off the top very quickly, but he's the tackle for loss guy along with Jordan Brailford, and we need to hear more about those guys in the second half.
They're the creators of negative downs for an offense. Bundage won their Barry Sanders Award last year for the biggest contribution and the least recognition here. He wants the ball back. 1 for 6 on 3rd down for Iowa State. Lang out of the backfield, turns it up, and does have the first down to the 38-yard line. Johnny Lang hit by Phillips, but a first down Iowa State. Purdy, line drive throw, has his man. That's Eaton to the 45. Matthew Eaton, who had the touchdown earlier, gain of 17.
The run pass option, and going off of Colby Pill, the safety. He steps up to defend the run. You throw the slant in behind him.
Lang driving the pile. Gets himself to the 41. They're playing without David Montgomery, the junior out of Cincinnati, who has 10 career 100-yard games. Out for the game after an injury against TCU last week. Did not play in this one. Purdy, sideline, a lot of hand fighting, and intercepted. Rodarius Williams picks it off in front of Eaton.
State has thrown at Rodarius Williams a few times, and Williams has had great coverage, but it resulted in a completion nonetheless. This was a 50-50 ball to Matthew Eaton outside, the 6'4" receiver on the 6-foot-tall Williams, and Rodarius Williams wins this one.
Would you say Iowa State got a little greedy there? Rodarius, his brother, the LSU defensive back.
I was with you on that
one. Cornelius off the fake to Hubbard. He throws it for Johnson and a first down to the 22 for Tyron Johnson.
This is where Cornelius has to be patient, Jason. He was a little impatient on that last series, not throwing the ball underneath when he had opportunities to do that.
That's what you talked about early in this game, that the Iowa State defense forces you into, is to take what you're handed and be okay with it.
Yeah, patience. All capital letters is who Taylor Cornelius has to be right here. And there were some underneath throws, but he got greedy and tried to get more than he should have on that last series, and it resulted in a passing down and pressure because you're behind the sticks.
Cornelius blindsided, ball loose. Let's see who comes up with it. Brian Peavy found the quarterback, and let's see who has the ball. It is Iowa State football, according to the backside official. Cyclones have it. So it took nearly 3 quarters for our first turnover, and suddenly 2 in a heartbeat. Spears recovers for Iowa State.
Well, Iowa State defensive coordinator John Haycock has known exactly when to dial up the pressure. This is Brian Peavy coming off the backside. Cornelius is looking at an RPO on the left side, and then he gets that short corner pressure into the boundary on an area of the field where the quarterback wasn't looking.
Some movement on the defensive side for Oklahoma State, not completely organized. Nwangu to the 14.
The thing that, Jason, that a quarterback has to do when you're into the boundary and you have a pass to the opposite side, in this case the wide side of the field, you have to take one last peek to the right side, that short boundary, because whoever is blitzing, if anyone is, they're on you quickly. And Brian Peavy was on Cornelius in a heartbeat.
Didn't have that one last glance, created the turnover. In a 9-point game, the freshman quarterback Purdy, in his first extended time as a collegiate player, has the ball and runs behind Crony and his line to the 11.
That was really a quarterback designed run, more of a power play. You saw seeing Buckner, number 47, is kind of a move fullback tight end, relocating to lead, and then 63, the left guard Colin Olson, was stepping around to lead the quarterback Purdy. That's what this offense has on the table now that they didn't have with Zeb Nolan, nor do they really have with Kyle Kemp, who is out. What's going to happen when that young man is back again?
We'll see, but Purdy looks like he's in absolute control of this game. Purdy on the roll. Wanted to throw, dodges the tackle, and extends the ball for what looks like an Iowa State 1st and goal at the 7. He made Bundage miss. I mean, these linebackers are good for Oklahoma State.
Brock Purdy he's a baller on the football field. Again, that probably should have been dumped to Sean Buckner, the fullback out in the flat immediately, but then it's the kind of the head fakes and the ball fakes, and all of a sudden he's extending the drive.
Long drive for Iowa State. It's about a couple minutes today. They have marched down the field pretty well. This off the turnover. Purdy to the 5. No rush for the Cyclones to give it back to this offense. Up by 9.
A good job by Oklahoma State staying home that time, and you have to do that when the quarterback is a viable runner in the offensive game plan, which has been the game plan ever since Brock Purdy came in. You have to stay home. You have to be disciplined, and that quarterback design run forces the defense to do that.
Milton in motion. Purdy to run. Thought about pitching it, and that would not have been a grand plan as Malcolm Rodriguez swatted him down. It's 3rd and goal.
And there was that G play again where the guard steps around and leads the quarterback if the quarterback does not give it on that fly sweep motion. But having a dual threat quarterback who can throw it really well, I mean, they're the ultimate red zone closers when you have a quarterback that's that diverse. So look for Purdy to have the ball in his hand and probably get to the edge in some form.
He's got Crony with him on 3rd down. Purdy sets, throws under pressure, end zone, incomplete. Hakeem Butler got his mitts on it. Williams knocked it away, and with 8 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter, it looks like it's field goal time for Iowa State, whose kicker is perfect.
Rodarius Williams has had a fantastic day in coverage, even though there have been a couple of long catches on him, and you get pressure on the quarterback. Extremely well thrown, but a well-thrown ball does not beat the coverage by Rodarius Williams right there.
You mentioned you needed more from Brailford. He was the one that provided the surge to force the throw early. And a whistle here.
Brailford, the
possible targeting
by Jordan Brailford on the quarterback right there, the pressure you talked about.
So we'll analyze it when we come back. Iowa State up 9. Question is, Jordan Brailford, is he in or out of this game? Is it targeting? We've looked at it during the break. What do you think?
I think Jordan Brailford is going to be called for targeting and going to be out of this game. You can see right there, the passer.
After further review, there is no targeting on the play.
Wow. I'm with you.
I don't get that at all. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how you're going to protect a defenseless player, a quarterback in this case. It's
what about crown of the helmet?
Crown of the helmet, but that doesn't matter anyway. It was above the shoulders in the head and neck, and I don't see how you can have a more egregious violation that fits the targeting rule than that right there. I don't understand it, and that's the second one in 2 weeks that I've missed completely.
Connor Asali is perfect this season. He is 8 for 8 in field goals. Iowa State takes a 12-point lead. Again, the reason I'm kind of quizzical there too is you've got in the rule book, when in doubt, it is targeting. So if it's close, it is targeting. Looked like he launched, looked like crown of the helmet as well, but call on the field and in the replay booth is no targeting.
Yeah, which one of those elements is not here? I mean, there's the launch, there's the duck of the head and the movement of the arms up to launch into the quarterback, and then you clearly hit him above the shoulders in the head and neck, and oh, by the way, you hit him with the crown of the helmet. I need to talk to our friend Rogers Redding and have him educate me on this targeting rule once again.
Yeah, it's not that we want young men kicked out of games.
Of course not, but we want young men protected, and that's the purpose of the rule. And that's a complete whiff by the replay booth, in my opinion.
Hubbard at the 3. Chuba Hubbard right up the middle of the field. And what amounts to the last touch of the football in the 3rd quarter in cloudy Stillwater. Iowa State has put up a big number offensively. 40-28. We've got 15 minutes to go here at Oklahoma State.
Chris Cotter in studio. Miami and Florida State renewing their rivalry down in South Florida. This is DJ Matthews on the hop. Picks it up at his own 26. He has a huge alley, and he is gone. All Seminoles right now, 27-7 in the third on ABC.
That is shocking. Miami does not need that, certainly, as Justice Hill gets all turned around and loses a couple yards. Matt Leo with the stop. We'll see Miami on the road at Virginia next week, but not what the Hurricanes wanted as they tried to bounce back from that opening win, that's for sure. That opening loss, I should say, to LSU. Second down for Cornelius. Again, he has to move his feet early and lobs it to the sideline. What a grab by Wallace at the 44.
And a great job. You called it, Jason. Cornelius has to move his feet, and this isn't easy. To move your feet, move your body forward, and throw a touch pass on the sideline. That's pretty good stuff right there.
Hill, neatly done that time. Looks like he's got an internal GPS.
Yeah, he's a pretty special running back. Great vision and great feet, and a physical finisher of the run as well.
Cornelius flushed again, and down he goes. Ball came loose. They're going to say he was down. Cornelius did have a chance to throw it away. He was tripped up. Hummel got in there, and it's third down.
And that's the decision, is Cornelius has to throw this ball away. He didn't even have a receiver on that side of the field anymore, and he wasn't going to go anywhere as far as running the football himself. Throw it across the line of scrimmage, and you save your team a handful of yards right there.
Instead, it's third down and 7. Remember, Iowa State has struggled this year third down defense-wise. Pressure coming again. Flag comes in, might be a hold. Cornelius down the field, has a completion to Wallace, but will it stand?
No, it won't stand. There's definitely going to be a hold up inside.
Holding, number 72 of the offense. It's a 10-yard penalty, and it's still third down.
It's on the center, Johnny Wilson, who had that early snap in the first half.
And the pressure comes right up the middle once again, certainly anticipating the throwdown. And Mike Rose, the middle linebacker, is the one getting that pressure. Mike Rose hasn't done a great job of getting off that initial block when he's the blitzer. But right there, he forced the big center, number 72, Johnny Wilson, to grab a hold of it.
Mike Rose had one big series earlier on in the game. We haven't called his name a lot, but he's been a very active freshman for Iowa State. Pressure again. Incomplete. Jaquan Bailey got in there to flash in front of Cornelius, and it's fourth down with some boos being rained down from here at Boone Pickens Stadium. They're not saying Boone.
No, they certainly aren't. And Oklahoma State, in a passing down, just haven't been able to protect their quarterback. That's for sure. And Iowa State gets pressure, but they get pressure because they also feel very comfortable with their matchup on the back end in coverage against this Oklahoma State receiving group.
Timeout called.
Oklahoma State,
how often do you hear somebody say that they're comfortable against Oklahoma State's receivers, considering Woods and Blackman and all those guys? 42.
ESPN College Football is presented by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. Energy lives here.
Great golf program here at Oklahoma State, including the 2018 U.S. Amateur Champion Ricky Fowler. You saw 4 PGA wins, the Masters runner-up this year, 11 NCAA championships. Guys like Bob Tway, Scott Verplank as well as Siner, who dropped a snap earlier, which led to a safety. This is off of Iowa State, and Oklahoma State is on the football. That is exactly what the Cowboys needed. They're in plus territory as DeMonte Ruth had it ricochet off of it.
Typically, Iowa State is really buttoned up in this area of the game, and DeMonte Ruth is supposed to get word from Milton in that particular case that typically the punt receiver runs up and is giving some indicator that it's a short punt and getting everybody out of the way, and Milton didn't do it on that particular play well enough for Ruth.
Cornelius down the middle, and a whistle comes in. This play will not count.
Prior to the snap, replay stopped the game.
Now, the question is on that punt, I was wondering if they'd stop it. The question is, did the ball touch an Oklahoma State player first? If it does, that means the recovery does not count. The ball is dead. We'll find out when we come back. Call on the field was confirmed. It is Oklahoma State football, and we got a couple looks at it. You will too. This ball did not hit any of the Cowboys players. Zacharias Green was down there for the Cowboys, and yeah, cleanly bounced off of Ruth. And just a huge play. I mean, people were starting to leave this stadium.
That's a great point. And typically, Iowa State is the one that benefits from executing special teams at a high level, and Tariq Milton, as the potential catcher of that punt, has to do a better job of executing, running up and getting everyone out of the way if it's a short punt. And DeMonte Ruth did not get the memo. He shouldn't have been in there at all. He should have ran himself out of bounds.
6 in a row in the series to the Cowboys. Mammoth turnover here. They start from the 23. Justice Hill sent backward. Payne got there second. Lewis was first, and a loss on the play. Another tackle for loss for this defense, John Haycock.
And a great job of adjusting to the formation. That time, Oklahoma State put their that receiver or give it to your running back Hill and let him try to get outside as well.
Kelly, 14 tackles for loss today for Iowa State against this very powerful offense. Cornelius incomplete, and again he had to speed up just a little bit. He saw the jerseys coming. It's third down.
And that's a great point. And sometimes as a quarterback, you speed things up, it creates inaccuracy at the other end, because Wallace was open on an out route and Cornelius just airmailed him because Cornelius was moving his feet and the ball sailed on the quarterback a bit.
Five for 11 on third down against a team that has really struggled on third down defense this year. Cornelius has to move. Sideline, got it to the 14. They're about a yard short with Wallace. Got to go here, right?
Yeah, you do have to go, and Tylan Wallace did a great job of working back down the sideline. Possession inbounds, possess the football in a move common to the game, which right there for Wallace was simply going to the ground.
That does count as an action common to the game, going to the ground. Fourth down. Justice Hill surging into the line for a first down, Oklahoma State.
And 4th and 1 with the game on the line certainly had Justice Hill's name written on it. The question was whether that offensive line for Oklahoma State was going to be able to stop the penetration that Iowa State has gotten so well defensively on the day.
First down. Hill again. Nifty shift through to the 4. His feet are so fun to watch.
And the feet of a running back are tied directly to his eyes, and the eyes tell the feet where to go, and Hill is very good at getting there. If he sees it, he can get there with his feet. There isn't any question about that.
One more time, easy for the touchdown. Justice Hill.
Oklahoma State made that look pretty easy. Give it to Hill, and sometimes it is that easy. Lawrence White, number 11, was the safety for Iowa State that got caught peeking outside and thought the quarterback, Cornelius, kept it, ran by his gap, and Justice Hill just steps into the end zone.
Might have to reload the artillery with how quickly they're scoring. Extra point is good. We told you they've gone to South America for a linebacker. Alberta for Hill's backup. He's from down the road a piece in Tulsa. Justice Hill gets him in a one-score game. 12 straight games with a rushing touchdown for Justice Hill, the most by a running back in Big 12 history, passing the big guy, Jaworski Lane, Cedric Benson, the scat back, Darren Sproles, Ricky Williams. That's some real heady company right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good list. And our boy Corby Jones, I guess he doesn't make the list because he's a quarterback, but he got some work done too.
You sound disappointed, Mr. Former Quarterback. Nwangu gets to his feet and finds a gap. He was patient, and he makes his way across the 30. Chris Cotter.
Guys, Dwayne Haskins is having a monster game, as you would expect, because every game he has a monster game. Here finding Paris Campbell. Where's the defense here? Ohio State having a little bit of problems with Indiana, though. 35-20 right now, midway through the third.
That's what happens when you forget Paris. You give up points. Great game here. Yet another one-score game between the Cyclones and Cowboys. The freshman Brock Purdy with Crony in the backfield now. Quick hitter, Deshaunte Jones. Not a lot there. Malcolm Rodriguez was in there first. He was questionable to play. The former All-State wrestler with the hit, second down. Big games later on. This one could decide whether or not Oklahoma State is still in play for the Big 12 title. Just one loss in the lead. Time ticking. Not a problem for the Cyclones right now. Nwangu to the 37 or so. Third down and manageable.
Certainly a time and place that the young freshman quarterback Brock Purdy has never been before. On the road in a very, very loud environment in a game that's going down to the wire. We'll see how that young man responds, because he hasn't flinched much in this game yet today. Money down right here for the true freshman, Brock Purdy.
On third down, pressure coming, and a flag is in. Let's see if the timeout happened or the flag came in. The officials will talk it over with 8:47 to go.
Yeah, the timeout came on the opposite sideline from where the flag came. Iowa State
Prior to the
wanted
snap,
that timeout.
Iowa State called a timeout. It's their first of the half.
We'll step
Media
aside.
timeout.
Iowa State hasn't won here since 2000. They're up 5.
Whedon to start the second overtime. Ball's in the air, and it is intercepted. Woody. Touchdown, they did it! Number 2, Oklahoma State ain't pretty no more. Their first loss of the year. Welcome to utter chaos.
37-31, the final score. Last time they beat Oklahoma State, 2011. Last time here, 2000. This is a third down out of the timeout for the freshman quarterback, Purdy. He throws. Quick hitter Jones, who can't break the tackle. Rodriguez tripped him up. And Oklahoma State forces 4th down.
Jason, you just talked about Malcolm Rodriguez, the safety, wasn't even supposed to play today. And he's a championship wrestler, and Mike Gundy said he's the best tackler on our team, and that was a really good example of it. Wrestlers know leverage and they know angles, and Rodriguez had all of it on that play.
And if that's not bad enough for Iowa State that he's such a good tackler, he's also a former quarterback, so he knows what's going through your head.
He has everything going for him.
Dangerous safety. Wallace back to receive the punt. And this goes bouncing beautifully for Iowa State inside the 15 for Dunn. As we take a look at this week's college football rankings, brought to you by Capital One. Alabama, 65-31, the final score there. LSU in a close one with Florida, and Oklahoma takes a tumble today against Texas.
What were there, like 7 undefeateds, 8 including West Virginia? You can cross Oklahoma off of that, but that's going to take care of itself because there's so much, cross-playing in conferences still to come. There's a lot of schedules that are back-loaded when you get into conference play. So that AP top 20 is going to sort itself out at the top pretty shortly.
We'll see if Notre Dame takes a header later on, trying to stay unbeaten at Lane Stadium, 8 Eastern in lovely Blacksburg. For now, Oklahoma State goes with Cornelius, who had a 48-yard run earlier. This one does not go for nearly as much. No gain. Mike Rose with the stop, who we mentioned earlier. His grandfather played at Notre Dame. His grandfather actually was part of the team that broke Oklahoma's 47-game win streak back in 1957. So if Cowboy fans are going to root for any Cyclone, it's going to be that guy.
And another one of those under-recruited guys that Iowa State seems to find, and they become incredibly good players for him.
Second down. Cornelius. Long ball, middle of the field. Dropped! Wallace had orange end zone in front of him.
Wallace on the post route, and this was so beautifully thrown, and might be the best part of Cornelius's game is the deep ball. Dropped it right into the shirt pocket. Wallace beat the coverage on the post route, ran over the top of Brian Peavy, and couldn't have been thrown any better than that one.
Instead of a lead for Oklahoma State, it's third down. Cornelius, pump fake, tried the check down and way overthrew it. Marcel Spears Jr. was as close as anyone. Chris Cotter in the studio.
Here's what we got down in the swamp. LSU in Florida. This has been a really entertaining game. Back and forth. Nick Brosette takes it in from 1 yard out. LSU takes the lead after a failed two-point conversion, though. Florida's driving, guys.
A close one. I saw on Twitter earlier, Tim Tebow was reminiscing about his first game there at the Swamp, and well, see if they have somebody else's magic today against LSU. Signer with the punt. This time Milton communicates perfectly with everyone, and the fair catch. This season, for every field goal and extra point made by participating universities, Allstate makes a contribution to the university's general scholarship fund. Thank you, Allstate. How fun has this series been? Last 3 games decided by at most 7. This one was an Oklahoma State lead early, but you've got a new star in the Big 12, at least for now, at number 15 in white, Brock Purdy.
And he's going to be tested right here. Like we talked about before, the true freshman Brock Purdy has been outstanding today. But this game always seems to go down to the wire like this. The last 3 matchups by a touchdown or less, and here we go again.
Well, the Purdy family is having a watch party right now, but they didn't expect to be as engaged in the game as they must be at this moment.
No question. And Matt Campbell told us that Brock Purdy was going to play. Just didn't know he was going to play that early.
You know, you get the appetizers, you get everyone together, but he's not starting the game. Well, now they don't have time for selfies. They got to be locked into this drive. The Purdy family. His brother, by the way, took over the quarterback position at his old high school, so it's passed down in the family. Very athletically gifted group. Purdy to throw, going away from it, has Milton down the middle. Tariq Milton, touchdown, Iowa State. Cowboys have a drop. Cyclones put it in for 6.
Jason, we talked about how Brock Purdy has to stand in there under pressure. Brailford gets to Purdy and unloads on him, and sometimes to reap the rewards of a good route down the field, a quarterback has to stand under pressure. And I kid you not, Brock Purdy was going to get unloaded on by Brailford. Stands in the face of it and throws a strike to Milton down the field.
Now look, why would you go for 2 here? You kick the extra point, you make it 12. Here, if you go for 2, it's a field goal and a touchdown and 2. You got to go for 1 here, right? Am I missing something?
I think Iowa State is missing something, and probably why they just called a timeout.
You leave it at 11, touchdown, 2-point conversion, field goal. You push it to 12. There is no 2-score game that includes a field goal. You've got to kick this extra point. Tariq Milton, though, the freshman from Bradenton, with major speed.
Yeah, and he is that speed guy. Typically, you have size out wide, but Milton is the guy that can take the top off, and that's what taking the top off looks like. Set the defender outside and then go to the post with nobody home in the middle of the field. And then your quarterback, Brock Purdy, under pressure, stands in there and loves every minute of it.
Might have to work on the dancing
that's
just a skosh.
That looked a lot like what I've seen out of you a time or two.
Do not bring that to that poor young man, okay? That was much better than anything I could ever dream of. They're going to go for 2, Kelly.
I still don't get it.
Yeah.
How about that chart? You know, the chart that tells you what to do? I don't think the chart says this.
Unless Sally's injured. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Unless you get it, of course. Purdy on the rollout. Brailford was with him, and they do have the 2-point conversion. He hits Crony, who got it across the line, and now they're going to say no. Incomplete. He did not complete the catch. I thought he was across the line with possession. Matt Campbell can't believe it.
Well, you have to have a confirmed possession, and then you have to have possession
play is under
when you
further
get
review.
Past the goal line, which is the football move common to the game in this particular play.
Yeah, Rodriguez dislodges it, sure, but at some point, if you've made a football move and you are at all across the plane, that is a good conversion. That's a successful conversion.
That's a successful conversion. That was missed on the field, and I think this will be overturned.
But remember, the call on the field is the beginning point. You need to have indisputable video evidence to overturn incomplete. Question, again, doubling back, is why are we here in the first place? Why wasn't this a kick?
That's a great question.
See how long he has possession.
It's possession, make a move common to the game. And then in this case, it's the ball has to be possessed and just penetrate the very front of the end zone. And all of that is true. I think this is overturned.
The one thing I would say is, as he spins toward the goal line, the ball rotates slightly. And the question is, when that ball rotates, has he completely secured possession of the football? If there is a move of the ball as he's crossing the goal line,
and remember the standard. The standard to overturn it, it's indisputable video evidence, and
that's dispute to me, is that the ball was moving.
Sync with the
after further review, the receiver caught the ball, went into the end zone, then was hit and fumbled after he had scored. It's 2 points.
I think you're dead on there. That's the right call. That's the call we want for college football, because at some point there's a termination of needing to then have more of a catch, and the goal line is that termination point.
Right.
If you've breached that, you are in, the play is over. And we've had discussions with replay officials and official coordinators about that sort of play. As we check in with our Pacific Life game summary, there is a lot to think about in this one, including Brock Purdy, 402 total yards, 5 touchdowns, and Iowa State showing a lot of gumption defensively.
Yeah, 7 sacks when they only had 5 coming into this game. So Oklahoma State never figured out how to protect their quarterback consistently enough.
Hubbard on the return, not much there. As we check in with Chris Connor, what you got?
All right, guys, I mentioned Florida was driving. They just completed that drive. Lamichael Pirine gets the handoff and finds his way into the end zone. They missed a 2-point conversion, so the Gators are up 1 midway through the 4th.
Interesting.
Just what Cowboy fans needed. They're trailing, and they hear somebody named Pirine getting into the end zone. It's getting a little lonely up there.
Where exactly is he?
He's
way up high.
He's just checking the scores.
Where did all of his friends go? This is a good, decent game.
Propping up the wall. Justice Hill. Do they have enough time to turn to Justice Hill? Hey, you can stream college football all season long on ESPN Plus. Start the free trial today by downloading the ESPN app or visiting ESPNplus.com. 30 for 30s on there, all of them podcasts, boxing, NHL. I know Joe Tess is watching the boxing. Justice Hill doubling back. Cornelius wants to throw him a block, but there was nowhere to go. It was Willie Harvey again, who's been very active in this game for Iowa State.
And you see the Iowa State defense once again. A lot of times they're only bringing 3. They're playing clutter on the back end with 8, and all of those 8 are looking in at the football and have very good angles at where they're supposed to be going.
Third and 4, Cornelius. You know, what really stings here for Oklahoma State is you talked about the clutter and having to be patient. When they had the ball over the top and they had the touchdown and it finally came to them, they dropped it. You're not going to get many of those looks in a game against Iowa State.
Yeah, you're referring to Tylan Wallace on the deep post route and thrown right into his shirt pocket by Cornelius, and Wallace just couldn't complete it. And sometimes that happens, but you're exactly right. That was their opportunity on that one.
Cornelius shedded 1 tackle. The rest came and dropped him. Mike Rose led the charge. Here's the drop. This could be the play of the game. They would have taken the lead on this.
And Wallace just runs right by the coverage by Brian Peavy, the best cover guy that Iowa State has, and just couldn't finish the play.
First team all Big 12 according to ESPN's voters. Last year, Peavy. Under 4.5 to go. Cornelius on the roll again. And it's intercepted. Picked off by Braxton Lewis, his 3rd of the year.
The question is going to be whether Braxton Lewis got his foot down, and I think he did. I think it was possession of the football, and then I think it was Lewis's left foot that gets down before he's out of bounds. Possession, catch, and do you finish it through the football move, which in this case was going out of bounds, and I think all of those things are yes.
There is green between the foot and the line. Yeah, you'd need indisputable video evidence to overturn this call, and it doesn't look like it's there. So John Haycock, who's been all over the Midwest, the defensive coordinator for Iowa State. He's coached under Jim Tressel and Bo Schembechler. He's coached at Army for a year. He gets a major turnover from his defense and Lewis to set up plus territory. Crony on the run, and you have to imagine, as a former quarterback, you got Cornelius, who's been running for his life all day long. You do get tired, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. You get tired mentally and physically. Physically, because you're running from your life, but mentally, as you're trying to execute the things that are specific to your position, but you're always under duress, and absolutely it takes a toll.
Well, you saw on that throw, he was trying to get it above that level of the defense and just left it short.
Yeah, just left it short. You're exactly right. And that was the consistent theme, is Oklahoma State just did not protect their quarterback consistently enough to win this football game.
And a whistle before the snap. Timeout, Iowa State.
Iowa State calls their final timeout of the half. 30-second timeout.
So Oklahoma State has 2 remaining. Iowa State calls its final timeout. A lot of college football later on. Notre Dame and Virginia Tech coming up. That's 8 Eastern. Late night in the Pac-12, always fun. Kentucky, how about the Kentucky Wildcats? Unbeaten. They're on the road at Texas A&M. One of the most interesting kids in college football, Benny Snell, that tailback for Kentucky. They're playing some of their best ball ever.
Yeah, and that to me is a kind of a prove-it game for Kentucky. I certainly think that Mark Stoops has gained traction, to say the least, but we saw the trouble that Clemson had going on the road to try to play A&M, and that came down to the wire. And so Kentucky has an opportunity to prove it. And then don't sleep on Virginia Tech. I'm telling you, with Bud Foster going against a freshman quarterback in Ian Book, and don't count against Bud Foster in that one. Purdy to the sideline. He does get down, forcing Oklahoma State to think about a timeout. Jason, let me ask you this. In a couple of weeks, Kyle Kemp, the starter that is out with a sprained MCL for Iowa State, comes back. And what do you do then? Because Brock Purdy seems to have grabbed this quarterback job at Iowa State by the throat. I think it depends on what happens, say, hypothetically, against West Virginia next week. Then you got the off week, Texas Tech to follow. But if Purdy gives West Virginia a game, an undefeated team, you got to keep him in, right? Oh, I don't think there's a question about that, considering what he brings to this offense in the quarterback run game. Crony to the 44. Rodriguez again the stop. So you got Kemp with the injury. You have Zeb Nolan, who was benched after one series in this game, as Oklahoma State has one timeout remaining. And it was more about, to me, Brock Purdy's opportunity than it was Zeb Nolan doing anything. I mean, it was a quick hook, not because of performance, certainly, by Zeb Nolan, but because of what Matt Campbell wanted to test out with Brock Purdy. Let's check in with Olivia downstairs.
You know, guys, on that note, what I've noticed from this quarterback unit is that they are just that. They're a unit on the sideline the whole game. Both Zeb Nolan and Kyle Kemp have been in Brock Purdy's ear, and, you know, Kyle Kemp's in street clothes and still with that limp, so he's looking at the next couple weeks. And now Brock Purdy being this big star in this big game. Also, Zeb Nolan, I just got to say, I've seen a lot of class from that kid. He's high-fiving him and complimenting him and celebrating with him on the sideline. It's been really fun to watch. But for that Purdy family, if you all are still watching, which I assume you're going to be replaying this one a lot.
They are.
Your son has shown extreme calmness and poise, and you heard his head coach say that at half.
Yeah, it's been awesome to watch. Brock Purdy, anytime you see somebody kind of come out of their shell, and this was a playing time shell, not a personal shell, but you never know on a college football Saturday who the next star is going to be, as Dunn plops it inside the 5-yard line. So Kyle Kemp has a story of his own. You know, he's the valedictorian at his high school in Ohio. He goes to Oregon State, then transfers away to Hutchinson Community College, comes here to Iowa State. First career start, guess what he does? He does something like this. He wins on the road. He wins against Oklahoma 38-31. Knee injury in the fourth quarter, September 8th of this year, and now suddenly there's another guy that's glowing in Iowa State's quarterback room, and we'll see what happens. But Kempt has played very well. You feel for the kid because you're not supposed to lose your job because of injury.
And to Olivia's point, it is a huge one because the chemistry on the team a lot of times runs through the quarterback room. And so those guys in the room dealing well with one another is going to be huge going forward. And how Matt Campbell handles that decision making is going to be vital for how this team does going forward.
Tyron Johnson with that catch. It's a gain of 23. It's also vital for how Campbell recruits his quarterbacks in the future and what message he's going to send to future signal callers. Not that he'll need one with Purdy here as a freshman.
But Jason, think back to a couple of plays in this game. Remember that first half, the drop snap by the punter of Oklahoma State resulted in a safety.
As this ball goes to the outside for Justice Hill, Payne takes him out of bounds.
The safety and the momentum.
Yeah, it woke Iowa State up.
Absolutely. And then in the second half, you know, the drop pass by Wallace that Cornelius put right on the bean, and that could have resulted in a lead, and instead it was what could have been.
Right on the bean, huh?
Right on the bean.
150 and change to go. Cornelius on the roll. He's been doing this all day long. Cornelius up the sideline and gets out of bounds on a stroll at the 40.
But in the meantime, for Oklahoma State going forward, if they're going to compete well in this conference, they have to get some things figured out on the offensive line of scrimmage because it was a disaster today.
And it was recently. I mean, Mike Gundy's talked about that. It's not personnel. It's that he's got his best guys in, and they're at this point not good enough for him.
And it was a perfect storm today because Oklahoma State was exposed more on the offensive line of scrimmage as that one's underthrown by Cornelius and potentially a late hit by Iowa State.
Spencer Benton got in there. What a needless penalty this would be. 128. They're not even using the last timeout. The clock has been ticking.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 58 of the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
There have been some odd things going on in this game today. You know that?
Yeah, I need to go give the people in the replay booth a hug because I lit them up on a couple of things. But Spencer Benton goes low on a quarterback, and that could have been a complete disaster for Taylor Cornelius. And Benton is just trying to make hay while he gets some playing time. So I like the hustle play, but you got to stay up.
That one's incomplete. Johnson went up for it, got a hand near it. Payne was right on his back. You've got Cornelius, whose major offer was to go to West Texas A&M. He was not an FBS guy. He was a walk-on here at Oklahoma State, and he has played under significant duress today and played pretty well.
Yeah, he has played well when he's had time. And when they have, Oklahoma State has kept Cornelius in the pocket. I mean, Iowa State has just lit that pass protection up.
Here it is again.
From the get-go.
And he just got his receiver cleaned out because of Northrup on the roll there. Northrup crushed Landon Wolf. But again, Bailey was coming on the pressure. One timeout remaining for Oklahoma State. Cornelius got to have this one down the edge. Battle for it. Touchdown! Tylan Wallace around Peavy, and the Cowboys have life.
Well, Wallace certainly made a much more difficult finish on the football there than that one he dropped earlier in this quarter. Cornelius does a great job of giving his receivers chances on deep balls down the field.
Just give him a shot.
Give him
Make
a
it
shot,
competitive.
absolutely. And Cornelius is very, very good at that. But wow, did this just get really interesting.
That is a great point. We have not seen very many uncompetitive balls today from Cornelius, as Amendola for the extra point to make it a 6-point game. And this series, which was 49-42 last season for Oklahoma State with its heavy artillery wide receiver crew, needs an onside kick recovery with 56 ticks to go in Stillwater. Last time the Cyclones won here, the quarterback was Sage Rosenfels. It was a long time ago. Iowa State was down going into the fourth quarter, but finished the deal 13-3. Rosenfels 290-2. It was the year 2000, October the 14th, 18 years ago next week. Last win in the series overall was 2011 for Iowa State.
And a couple things to keep in mind here for the onside kick is the kick team can't touch it until the ball passes 10 yards, and they can't engage in the receiving team.
Here it is. Butler high points it. That's how the scoring started for Iowa State, and that's how the game will very likely end.
A very good guy to finish is Butler. You talk about a guy who has the length to go up and get this one. That was a very good onside kick. That's what you want out of an onside kick. You want that extra bounce right at the end. Well executed, but the guy on the other end, Hakeem Butler, is 6'6" and climbs the ladder and goes and gets it.
It was Matt Hockett off the punt. And this is a couple kneel downs. And that is it for Iowa State. So Hakeem Butler, who grew up with the Harrisons, the former Kentucky standouts on the basketball court. He scores a touchdown in this game and ends up with the ball in his hand to finish the victory for Iowa State. And Matt Campbell, whose team was down at 0-2 in the Big 12 after a loss at TCU. They're playing without David Montgomery, their star tailback. And lo and behold, with a new quarterback, a freshman who'd seen 2 snaps in his college career, the Cyclones win on the road in Stillwater.
And talking to Matt Campbell earlier in the week, you sensed that they were up to something, because remember, their first game of the year was canceled. And then the next 3 games, Iowa, Oklahoma, and Akron, were all different game plans. And they never really felt that they got their feet on the ground, and they put everything together today.
Well-coached team. Mike Gundy told us. Very impressed with Matt Campbell and his staff. And for Brock Purdy, the freshman out of Gilbert, Arizona, he is the man who replaces Sage Rosenfels as the most recent Cyclone quarterback to win in Stillwater. (48-42) the final score. And so for the Cyclones moving forward, you mentioned it, at the quarterback position, you've got West Virginia coming up, unbeaten, #1 in the Big 12. Who's it gonna be?
Yeah, there's a lot of heavy lifting to certainly do down the road, but Iowa State showed a kind of a template today that would bode well going forward. I really like what Iowa State is doing defensively. And it worked well, and it's built specifically for playing in this conference, forcing offensive coordinators in the Big 12 to be patient. And then all of a sudden, you have your quarterback potentially for a few years now, but it's the defensive side that showed up for me. It's the tackles for loss. It's getting these high-powered offenses behind schedule, and they get a little impatient. And you saw Oklahoma State do a little of that. When they had gash plays, they were effective. But when they had to be efficient and didn't have those plays, they got behind the chains, and it resulted in either a turnover or punting the ball away.
16 tackles for loss for Iowa State, and their head coach, Matt Campbell, is with Olivia.
Okay, we are just laughing. Was Brock Purdy even born the last time Iowa State won in Stillwater? But, Coach, what did you see from your young quarterback?
Yeah, he's got great poise. You know, he's a young man that's been impressive since he stepped on our campus, and he's bided his time, and, you know, he took advantage of his opportunity, and we talk a lot about that in our program, and really proud of him.
sticking on the offensive side, you did this one without your star running back, David Montgomery. What was the best part of the offensive show today?
Yeah, I just think it was a collective effort, you know, and it's a group that, you know, we've been trying to find our way a little bit, and, you know, we had an opportunity. These kids have practiced, and we got some really good players, and I think some of those guys got their opportunity to showcase what they could do today.
Back in the win column, first Big 12 win as well. What does this one do for your program?
Well, you know, this team, it's one of my favorite teams I've ever coached because they love football and they come to work every day. And I said, for this team, our obstacle will be the way, and it kind of was today a little bit, you know, but they just keep playing, and I really love this group.
Last one real quick, Coach. Who's your quarterback next week?
Yeah, you know, we'll decide that here in a little bit, but obviously Brock has put himself in a great situation to continue to improve. But, you know, I thought Zeb Nolan was first class today on the sideline, and really proud of his leadership as well.
Congratulations. Thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Olivia, thank you. 48-42, the final score for Olivia Decker, Kelly Stauffer, Jason Benetti saying farewell from Stillwater. Auburn, Mississippi State is coming up shortly, but for now, we go back inside the studio. Full day of college football to document Chris Cotter as your leader.